Redditors that host their home on Airbnb. What has been your worst experience with a guest? I used to travel a lot for work and I would put my apartment up on Airbnb while I was away. My apartment has a bunch of closets and drawers which I used to leave empty and at my guests' disposal. However, there is one closet in the bedroom which I kept locked cause it is where I keep my personal belongings. One time a guest left a bad review saying that the place had no storage space, which I was very confused about until I got home and saw my closet. Dude had tried to open it using brute force. The door was almost pulled off its hinges and the wood was chipped in some places. The door in question had 2 padlocks and the perfectly usable closet on the opposite wall was untouched. He was looking for the loot. How dare you deny him? Rented out to a group of 4 girls. Turns out they were going partying every day during their stay. I get called one day at 5 a.m. It's the guard from my building telling me there's a passed out girl in the lobby's couch, puking and pissing herself. None of her friends had gone back to help her. Ruined the couch, obviously. The next day they sent me a message again. Another one of the girls had sprinted to the building stairs and also pissed herself. A friend of mine rented to a girl who was convinced that there were cameras hidden all around the unit. She dismantled the lighting fixtures, picture frames, medicine cabinets, remote controls, etc. We are live-in hosts, so we are present while guests stay in our spare room. A guest arrived and immediately announced that they had shit himself during their journey. They then marked us down for cleanliness. Mate, you shit yourself. Also a guest who found a pair of my flip-flops in a wardrobe that they should not have opened, then shit over the bathroom floor, ruining my favorite flip-flops in the process. Also a guest who went out drinking for 10 hours before checking in, meaning I had to collect them from the taxi, put them in bed in the recovery position, check on them when I woke up for work, then called a taxi company on their behalf when it turned out they'd lost their phone. Dude stole my $120 sneakers and broke my TV. You're lucky, at least the guy didn't shit his pants. Yes, I did. A bit late to the party, but I have too. One dude stole my trimmer. This other guy took the cake though. When I took him the second key to the apartment that his mother needed, he opened the door slightly ajar and only extended his hand, palm facing up, to receive the key. Didn't want to shake my hand. Sent me messages complaining to me the drawers in the bathroom were full of personal stuff. One was full of items that we purposefully leave for guests to use, including new pads, soaps, toothbrushes. He was annoyed by this and said, I'll just move this to one of the bedside tables in the master bedroom, shall I? Which is also full anyway. There, we leave blocks and pens for guests to use, as well as reading material like The Economist or Guides to the City. This also annoyed him. He also complained about food that we leave for guests to partake of and be welcomed by. Upon leaving, guy leaves a massive, scathing review including hot takes like the linens and pots being worn out and needing replacement. They're not and they don't. They're also top of the line. Says the apartment was dirty upon entering. It wasn't. It was thoroughly cleaned before his arrival, as it is before every guest's arrival. He concludes by complaining the taxi ripped him off. I'm guessing the insinuation is that I was in cahoots with the taxi company. I don't know. His mother was nice though. I worked in a call center that handles some of Airbnb's customer service. So, one guest murdered 2 people in the host's home and got arrested there. Another guest was from a culture that eats iguanas and barbecued up a 7-year-old girl's pet iguana to serve to the family as thanks for hosting him. Another guest filled a mug with human shit and left it in the host's microwave. You really lose all faith in humanity working in customer service call centers. Editing to add, Airbnb requires photo evidence for all host complaints, and guess who is the first to see them? The initial customer service agent, who may only be on their first or second day taking calls. And the iguana man was forced to pay for both a new barbecue for the family and a replacement iguana. A guy the first work with told this story how he hired a maid though a referral from his friend. She was great apparently and asked to stay there a couple times when he was gone. After he agreed to let her stay a few weeks when it wasn't being rented, however, she ghosted him. He ended up calling the cops and they checked up on her. She was there and although nervous, everything seemed normal. She later got a hold of him and asked to stay longer. He said no, clean it and get out. He comes back randomly to his house at 5 a.m. a few days later to someone sleeping in his downstairs room with dirty dishes and cigarette butts everywhere. Ends up it's this maid's heroin-addicted husband. He had been using it as a flop house and drug den. This guy escorted the husband out by gunpoint pantsless. The place was trashed downstairs but apparently perfectly clean still upstairs. His TV was stolen but the husband brought it back and left it in the driveway so he didn't get charged with theft. Apparently there was little he could do about the free stay the husband took advantage of. Not a host, but I stayed at an Airbnb that rented 2 rooms. I was in bed and here the other guest, a man and women, returned. They're loud and drunk, but nothing crazy. About 10 minutes later I hear what I thought was them having sex, but then quickly realize it's someone getting hit. The host and I both hear this. The host starts knocking on the door, asking what's going on and to open the door. The woman opens the door and her lip is split wide open. She's bleeding all down her shirt. The guy is in the room, but runs out with a backpack and leaves. He's taken both of their cell phones and wallets. The police show up and everyone gives statements. They found him walking down the road and he found different accommodations at the police station. I slept fine. The room was Harry Potter themed, so I still left 5 stars. Carpets, jizzed. Curtains, jizzed. Dining table, jizzed. Sink, jizzed. Sheets, somehow survived unjizzed. Is that bad aim or a performance piece? My friend's Airbnb guest taught their kitten to meow once, and then the quietest sweet needy cat turned loud and needy. 'Twas a curse that kept on giving long after he left. Not in my story but a friend of mine's. He has an apartment in London, an urban area with dense houses and population. The apartment he hosted has this window facing Main Street, which people tend to assume it's non-see-through, but it's not. So the guy who stayed in it decided to sit in front of that naked and had a few beers, overlooking the great view. He must have fallen asleep or something, and everyone passing by the road just had to see this poor creature. It was all on Snapchat at the time I recall. LMAO. Edit. This has really blown up, so let me clarify a few things. The area I refer to is in the context of where the apartment is and not the whole of London in general. In that sense, the population per square kilometre here would be extremely high. He sat on a couch right in front of the see-through window to have his beers just like anyone would do. The window used to be non-see-through until it had sustained some damage from a nearby construction site, forcing them to repair immediately without thorough checking. This is where the whole new feature of see-through was born. Lastly, this incident at the time was overshadowed by another weird event in London called the Naked Bike Day. You can look up what this is, please, only above 18. I am still under the impression that he may have come to London to take part in this event and perhaps assumed people of London are more tolerable towards nudity. Thanks. My partner looks after an Airbnb for his friends, self-catering only. The house is an 1800s big country house. It is used primarily for large get-togethers and parties. Most guests are great and clean up well to get their deposit back. A group stayed and left the place pretty messy. But we couldn't figure out what the smell was. Turns out they left a full pig in a rubbish bag under the kitchen table. They tried to cook a pig on a spit and basically left its mainly raw corpse under the table. Every toilet was destroyed too. These ladies got locked out because all 3 didn't bring any of the spare keys. I had to leave a meeting since they demanded I let them inside. Since I left them all spares and my original. Had to climb up 2 stories by building a makeshift Marv from Home Alone style stack of boxes and break in my own apartment to open the door from the inside for them. They gave me my only negative rating out of about 20. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.